The transformation of the old Bud Polychem complex on Phoenixville's north side into Franklin Commons had always been a question of space. How, after all, do you sort out the use of 225,000 square feet of old industrial concrete and brick? A blank canvas in 3 dimensions. To be sure, plans were shaped by a guiding vision of what would happen there, a close collaboration among educational institutions and services and of other businesses, all under one roof. How could that vision define the space? An architect's task, of course, but at its base a draw on the sensibilities of the architect as artist. It was not surprising then that in its unfolding the project's developers, David and Marian Moskowitz, would turn also to 2 artists to help mold and define the space as it moved from sketch to reality. Marianne Worrell and Doug Mott played out in sculpture the dialogue among parameters, new space, old materials, people, and purposes. Now this was intended as an entrance piece.
Correct. As an entrance piece. It's just form. And it's utilizing old Culligan water filter tanks that were left.
And then highlights with the aluminum steel on the inside. So it's sort of the dark on the outside and then that bright blue with the highlight of the metal on the inside, which is really appealing.
Worrell from Phoenixville and Mott from Elverson had been rumored to each other for some time, but it was the year-long Franklin Commons project on which they first collaborated. On a group of sculptures, in the spaces around which the work of constituent institutions operate, common elements of an educational campus.
The one piece that we had a model for, and I think we had the notion of, we knew we had a lot of pipe to use, and how we could utilize that pipe work and other found materials. So we took some time to work out a model of this. And we really wanted to focus on sort of an organic shape and movement, but yet having it feel a little bit like a shelter at the same time. And originally they weren't benches. They sort of transformed into benches later when we were building them.
That was also a structural issue.
Right.
To make them a bench. To triangulate that base a little more.
What was Campus Walk before you got here to talk about sculptures on Campus Walk?
It was a siding. Railroad cars would pull in and they would drop off deliveries. It was about 5 foot deep, and they filled it all in with industrial scrap as well. So it was all recycled.
Had this been originally anticipated for sculpture?
Yes, always. Yeah. This was the main area for sculpture.
The ballerina, where were the materials for that? Ballerinas.
These are smokestacks from different parts of the building. We chose them because they had the natural curve of the pipe, and we could add, the direction of the arms and the legs as we. I think the inspiration was actually the foundry building. That was where we first noticed the smokestacks and the bolted series of pipe that go around them. And we realized that was one thing we had a lot of, was that big pipe. And at the time, we knew what we were going to use for each end as far as the pieces, but we didn't have an idea for the center, and we wanted to have something that brought the human figure into it. Because that was the one thing that was missing in the abstract, in these other abstract pieces, was the human figure.
And because of the element of, this being a place for kids, that's why we chose the colors, the primary colors, and something that they would relate to very easily.
A place for kids, younger ones and older ones. You might study for your undergraduate degree here, but education at Franklin Commons begins with preschools, young children, and their families.
And we couldn't make the materials work the way we wanted them for our original design. And this is where we had to work with what we had, really, and come up with a design that would work with that. So, and sometimes that's really frustrating because you have an idea in your head of what you want back here, or in a space, and just the materials that you're given just don't work with it. But that comes with working with recycled materials.
It still loosely represents the 3 figures that we had in mind. In fact, we had 4 figures.
4 figures, yeah.
Initially, I guess the idea being that there were that it was a family grouping. Being in an environmental or an educational setting, the family would be represented That was part of the idea.
Was it a matter of simply the size of the materials or just the number of materials you had available?
Both. We were limited in both.
Yeah, this
Size
was,
and quantity.
this was the last piece.
This was the last one.
So we really were sort of working with what we had.
The themes all came together in one piece, hands. The hands of everyone who was putting the project together. Organization staff, contractors, all linked together.
How everybody came together within the building to help each other to create the work that not only that we made, we helped them, they helped us. We wanted to sort of celebrate that idea of working together.
Who had worked on this? How do you work together on a process like this?
Well, just the process of working with the mold making material was a two-person process. We had to have one person mix the material, another person to set up an area for the person to put their hand into it, and then immediately afterwards we had to pour the plaster into the mold. So, and we had one person after another doing this. We had, I guess, 2 or 3 days of just making the hand molds.
Hands has no frame. What happens with new space, old materials, people, and purposes at Franklin Commons is open-ended. And what products are created in this old manufactory are meant, after all, for the work they will do beyond the factory, in the immediate community, and beyond. This is Skip Lawrence, PhoenixvilleNews.com.